You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Good morning, everyone. You're listening to Trace Elements Radio live on traceelementsradio.com. The articles that I'm going to speak to you about are there. Two of them I've spoken about before, but I'll repost them so you can read them again. And of course, Revolution Radio, Studio A, and Wolf Spirit Radio. Good morning, everyone. Got a lot of news today. I'm not going to be doing a lot of rehashing on, obviously, Brussels was a false flag. Obviously, told you that. And as a matter of fact, back in February, we talked about March being worldwide training exercises. The biggest one in history is going on in the EU right now. So, all set up and ready to go, and we had put a lot of pictures of them training for it. What's really a problem is the 2 nuclear reactors that were evacuated. Because there's a problem there. This whole thing could have been about that. We'll get into some of that stuff, but later. My friends, we need to get out of the ritually induced, repetitious nature of the childlike programming of this New Age movement, Ultra, Namu, and actually tune into what's really going on right now. The big 6 gene giants have merged. We talked about the merging before. This has created a monopoly on food unlike anything seen on this planet. DNA can now be emailed to gene plants and then reconstructed through gene printers. This means I don't know. I don't want to say we're done, but I'm a little bit thinking we're done. Maybe we could stop the Big 6 from becoming the Titanic 3 and then going into 1. Now, as we warned May last year, and again, well, at least the ETA warned us February. I didn't talk about it again. But this year, the pressure of these mergers amongst the big 6 gene giants would make a third merger inevitable. And then going from the 3 to the 1. In the last few days, the business media have reported that Monsanto is in separate talks with Bayer, who brought you most of the diseases that we know, and they make very good ovens, and BASF, the 2 German giants amongst the agricultural input companies. While anti-competition regulators are fussing about the hookup of DuPont with Dow and of Syngenta with ChemChina, Monsanto urgently needs to make a match. They hope that if the regulators let those other two deals go, which looks like it's about to happen, that they won't be able to deny Monsanto a chance to get even. If these companies get their way, the first links in the food chain, seeds, pesticides, will be in the hands of three companies. If the marriages of DuPont Dow and Syngenta ChemChina go through, and Monsanto merges with Bayer Agricultural Division, the three will control between 65 and 85% of the global pesticide sales. That's global. It's everything. And almost 61% of the commercial seed sales. If Monsanto and BASF strike a deal instead, the Titanic 3 will still have at least 61% of the pesticides and more than 57% of the seeds. Either way, a fourth move will be inevitable. Whichever company is left at the altar, Bayer or BASF, will have to buy or sell, since it won't have a chance to clout the three. And from then the three will become one. It's damn near one of my epic fairy tales I frickin' tell you about. Either could provide or it could prove irresistible for Deere and Company too, or one of the other huge farm machinery companies that are in the best position to ultimately dominate all on-farm related agricultural inputs, from seeds and pesticides to fertilizers, machinery, data, and insurance. So what, you might say? Some industry watchers wonder if the latest spat of mergers will actually make a difference to an industry which is already so tightly concentrated, and where 6 gene giants have always dominated seed and pesticide markets, at least for the last decade or so. They already have so many joint ventures, cross-licensing agreements. They already are a de facto monopoly. From another perspective, though, peasant organizations, agroecologists, either buy corporate seeds, neither buy the corporate seeds nor want their pesticides. Now, according to the recent estimates, at least 90% of the seeds from peasant farmers, I say peasant not as a insult, but there's us and there's them. We are not they. We will never be they. And they are winning. I listen and look at my conscious brothers and sisters, on Facebook, and listen to we're evolving. No, we're a little bit screwed right now. The children of Abraham, or Brahma, depending on how you want to go with that, were warned very specifically in one passage. I can't call it up in my head, and maybe some of my scholars will know this, because it's actually in all the 3 major books. said that we had defeated the giants, the Anunnaki. Not using that name, but you know who I mean. The Coneheads and the Owl Eyes. So one group of giants came up from center of the earth, the other ones came down. So this is the heaven and hell battle. This is a battle. We're told that, we have to pick a god, a religion to fight against. They were warned. The brothers were sat down and said, there will be peace on earth unless you brothers fight. And we've never stopped fighting. The Christians, sponsored by the Jews, attacking the Muslims, who are attacking themselves, and this planet is being torn apart. It looks like we've decided that. Could have chose peace, but it looks like all we've learned with the incoming and outgoing species on this planet, with all the movement, with all the meeting everybody, with all the travel, all we've learned is become better killers. I don't see it any different. There's a man in Florida, obviously black, because this is who it happens to. 3 cops chained him inside a shower, turned on the heat. He was later discovered with his skin actually melted off. This isn't 100 years ago, this isn't 200 years ago, and of course people ask me, yeah, but this is things that happened a long time ago, Tracy, you got to get over it. No, this happened a week ago. I hear the freaking tick-tock. I do. Maybe 3 of us will live if we can hide from the rest of y'all who are still fighting because your skin's a different shade, your eyes look different, your hair is straighter or curly. People fighting on which God who says, I am the only God, is the right God. The corporations are still in the back, and this thing changes everything. Even if it's just 60% of all commercial seeds, 60% of global pesticide sales. That's it. It's it. 60%, way beyond tipping point. And we have this stuff called wind and water, still moving a little bit, that spreads this everywhere. So, them, that's them, and us. So when I say peasant farmers, I say it with respect, who plant every year from their own bins, or are bartered with neighbors and local markets, and you growing your stuff in the backyard, of course, or on balconies, since these are the peasant farmers that actually feed 70% of the world's people. The machinations of multinationals aren't being considered. But here's the causes for concern. Commercial seeds may only make up 10% of the peasant farmer seed supply. But the corporations will have virtually all of the face time with policymakers. All. Trade, farm subsidies, labor laws, patents, land use, phytosanitary regulations, infrastructure spending, and marketing policies are skewed into interests of the biggest agribusinesses and the 100 million farms they claim as clients. The 570 million peasant farmers that really feed the world bear the burden of these skewed policies. Not just a direct attack here, but a collateral damage. The more concentrated the lobbying power of the industrial agriculture, the more destruction to the peasant food web. The food web that this planet actually did really well before we started beating it to death, beating it into submission. The ecological food systems that were here and didn't need our help. The threat is not only concentrated, but it's also integration. When pesticide companies began buying seed companies in the 70s, the companies first denied it was happening. Later, argued that the synergies were helpful, beneficial. 4 decades later, allowing seeds and chemicals to combine has done an enormous damage to plant breeding. The agrochemical giants concentrate overwhelmingly on a handful of commodity crops. The big three, especially corn, soybean, cotton. Engineered primarily to tolerate proprietary chemicals. The results have been a decline in the quality of seed and plant breeding for conventional varieties, and an increase in the use of crop chemicals, which needs to be increased exponentially. The impacts are especially devastating for farmers who want to get off the pesticide treadmill. They can't get good seed. It's not available, and can't escape their neighbors' drifting pesticides. Policymakers who refuse to acknowledge the negative impact of seed and chemical complex will now confront the next level of integration. The world's seed and pesticide businesses are really small potatoes compared to the fertilizer and the farm machinery industries. The farm machinery behemoth, Deere and Company. You remember John Deere? Well, if you lived in a place with farms, you know John Deere. You've ridden one of those tractors. I have. Anyway, all by itself, Deere and Company has sales equivalent to about 2/3 the sales of the entire seed industry. Just this one company. For the 3 big tractor-trailer companies that share 49% of the world market, taking over the big 3 seed pesticide companies with even greater concentration seems a nice fit. So if national anti-competition regulators allow the 3 seed and the pesticide mega mergers to go ahead, the slippery slope into machinery or fertilizer combination will be hard to stop. Winning ground, I guess the mergers already on the table, will not be decided in Washington or Brussels. So watch for the next attack to be in Washington. I'm calling it. And surprisingly, the other one would have been in Brussels. It's not. The victory won't go to the highest paid lawyers either. It's all about national politics and shareholder profits here. 4 countries: Brazil, China, India, and Argentina represent 28% of the global pesticide market. That's the part of the market that is growing. Collectively, the global south is more important to the industry's future than Europe or North America. Thank effing God. Because we've already bent over. We're sucking it right now. So, if a handful of these countries block the merger at home, corporate shareholders will nix the mergers themselves without waiting for Washington or Brussels. Virtually every nation has a, competition office or foreign investment review office that has the right to step in and block combinations within their own borders. This can be a long draw out, a complicated legal dispute. Sorry, had to sneeze. Or it can be an act of political expediency. Who's likely to win? Politicians rarely lose votes challenging multinational interlopers. Countries also have national commercial champions. They would like to move someday into global markets. Allowing mega mergers at home will damage their long-term aspirations abroad. Then too, the oligarchs, I'm going to say that, raise prices. Sometimes this means increased payouts for government subsidies. In all cases, it creates hardship, political unrest in rural areas. Finally, highly concentrated industries would rather spend their money on public relations than on R&D, research and development. Mergers are innovation killers. There is just no commercial incentive to innovate when you already control the market. So for the agroecologist, of course, having an innovative pesticide company is about as helpful as having a smart pest. But the bigger companies have grown, the more they have destroyed the truly innovative public research. If mergers are blocked, the next step is to rebuild a truly responsive research system led by peasants, agro-farmers. Bottom line here. Between the self-interest and the self-preservation instincts of national government and the fight for food sovereignty, these mega mergers are far from a done deal. Over the next few months, political and not legalistic, popular, not lengthy, demonstrations and discussions in the national media with national policymakers could give the gene giants a defeat from which they can't recover. The fight is less to stop the mergers than it is to break up the seed chemical complex. If we lose, further industry integration will make the fight for food sovereignty impossible. So every country has at least one office that examines commercial mergers. That could lead to an anti-competitive market. I think we're already there. Some people have a nicer, rosier view than I do. Most countries also have offices that review foreign investment, especially foreign takeovers of domestic companies. While action in every country is important, there are contact points for 4 countries on the global south that account for 28% of the world pesticide market. This is what needs to be looked at. The 4 most raped, I would think, countries in the world: Brazil, Argentina, China, India, will decide the future of food on this planet. I don't know, I'm a little bit thinking we're so friggin' screwed right now. Because there's such a stranglehold on these poor people. Now, meanwhile, the community at large is discussing smoothie flavors and Saunders changing the world with a cabinet of oligarchs giving him orders. He's a bitch. Okay, please wise up. Knowing is half the battle. Don't be fooled to believe the billion-dollar facilities all around the world are just here to make fast European cars and smartphones for you. Jupiter sending is a code for the completion of the Zionist, I guess, but actually first it was Zion, or 2012 agenda that I've been telling you about, in turning the masses energy into a malleable, bioavailable source of food. We find so many utterly incapable of doing anything because most just don't want to grow up and face the real issues without melting down into some sort of emotional stigma. Alice, which is a code name for naive, childlike, Western mindset induced on the masses, is still very, very much in Wonderland. I don't know if Alice can be saved, to be honest. I listen to people talk for 5 minutes and think, oh, Jesus, we're screwed. We're so screwed. People are so friggin' blind. Not everyone, but enough that I shake my head and go, oh, these aren't my people. Now, a couple hours ago, a whistleblower revealed hard evidence that Keshe Foundation tech being used to clean up Fukushima contamination in Japan, that the government and the industry in Japan are suppressing this truth. People who have been following with Keshe and watching when it's 100 and I think we're up to 110 teaching seminars just on one. There's been a lot more. We saw this. We saw the live reports. But in the latest one, the workshop from March 21st, 2016, evidence presented by a Fukushima whistleblower insider that Keshe Tech has and is being used to clean up the radioactivity. Keshe stated 2 years ago that he contacted the government industry in Japan, offered his tech to help with the cleanup Unfortunately, Japan is under the stranglehold of the United States. They can't do anything with nuclear. Anything. This is their reward for being bombed. World War II. Now the photographs and testimony, and I've gone into this in detail. I don't think we need to hash it again. But the cleanup is being done by United States. United States doesn't care what damage they do. But anyway. Photographs and testimony is being given by this Fukushima insider, whistleblower. Completely validates cash tech. For those who still don't believe it, even though I'm telling you I'm using it. Telling you I'm running my computer on it. Actually, I was on one of the round tables where one of the people on it goes, "No, you're not." I'm like, "Seriously, I'm not?" Then I showed him what I was using. He goes, "No, that doesn't work." I'm like, "Okay, so you're calling me a liar." F you, by the way, but yes, I am. The tech is being used to purify radioactivity and contaminated water in Fukushima. He told us years ago that his tech was being used. The companies, the government in Japan refused to acknowledge or give him credit. They also fired the person who was the go-between between Cash Foundation and the companies doing the cleanup, so TEPCO and other companies. And I have a link to the workshop on my page. The whistleblower was shown initial tests of cash tech in Fukushima and was told not to speak about it. But he's speaking about it anyway. So initially, mice were tested with CO2 gas in their daily diet, so contaminated mice. They all recovered. They all did not die. The mice were given contaminated water with some CO2 gas in the water, others without it. The GANs mice recovered. The mice not given the GANs died. The water is highly contaminated, put on the mouse food, absorbed into the food. And this is just a small part of the revelations of the whistleblower this morning. This validates everything I've told you. Shows people that the tech is being suppressed by the Japanese and, of course, American government. Why, you might ask? You and I know why. Certain technology, especially the ones that you could make with your own hands in the house, should be changing the world. It will get rid the planet of the need for oil, gas, hydroelectricity. Will remove the control of companies like I just told you about, pharmaceutical companies, banks, all powers that are affected by the acceptance of cash technology. Yes, even religion. A test conclusion from Fukushima researchers. Radiation kills by damaging and rapidly dividing cells. These cells include blood, GI tract, reproductive, hair cells, harms DNA and RNA, and surviving cells. And this planet is reacting because of the radiation right now. The little children I told you about in northern Ontario and Alberta and Saskatchewan that are suffering with what looks like radiation burns. They're calling it psoriasis, but that is not effing psoriasis. Look at the pictures. Tell me that's psoriasis. Our water on this planet is in huge, dire straits. You need to be doing something. I know I say that a lot. I jump up and down. All of your food, all of your water, the air you breathe in your house, especially your own body, needs to be doing something right now. Seriously, right now. Even the surviving cells after it's been damaged, you need to be doing something. Find a way. You know, this test proves that CO2 gas strengthens the immune response, enables it to recover from radiation poisoning and viruses, can help protect people who are exposed to dangerous levels of radiation that are going on worldwide right now. Right now. Not going to happen. It's not coming. It is here. It is here, and if the United States is doing anything for you, they're killing in massive numbers. Okay, of course Canada is like right there with them. Even with our pretty Disney prince, he's selling us out just as fast as he possibly can. It's always been that way. I would like to think we have a chance. But the mutated parasites that are around now, the viruses, the disease that are, they are mutating at such a fast rate, you know. We've talked about this. This is about meteors. They bring in disease. But what we're doing doesn't help. It doesn't help. Now we, when I say we, it's a couple companies on this planet and those lovely religions that, you know, pretty easy to make people kill each other for that for some reason. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But it is. It's ridiculous, the violence going on. You know, we have Russell Brand in his new role becoming a leader who sounds exactly like David Icke, who says the exact same things, but most of it is BS, and he speaks very fast. The people are just so blinded. Absolutely blinded. Well, what are we going to do? You know? If you don't like the Empire, you can move to another galaxy. Well, galaxies probably run by these people. I know it's weird talking about aliens, but the stories that I read to you, especially the stuff made up about the Anunnaki that are supposed to be in the text but aren't. This is Europe. Look at the Ivory Coast, the Gold Coast. It's because they stole ivory from there. It's because they used mining tools there to mine for gold. The horrific things happening in Africa are happening on your planet now. Your little globe of influence. there's that, and a cemetery full of dead babies with missing brains next to the U.S. nuclear sites. From a funeral director, almost all the infants that have died in the same way pretty much see the same thing on the death certificates. Clusters of children. Unprecedented what's going on. In the Seattle Times, we've brought this up before, but January 28th, 2016, how the state is missing chances to find deadly death and birth defects and even look into the cause. At least 40 other mothers have lost babies. To the thing that results in the missing parts of the brain, basically. In Yakima, Benton, and Franklin counties since 2010, one of the largest documented clusters in U.S. history. Anencephaly, I think it's called. Now something is going on. Yes. People who have 4 or 5 babies with the same thing over 2 years. But this has been going on a lot longer than we've been told. That the U.S. health officials have collected no blood samples, performed no genetic tests, and conducted no examination of water or soil to find out why. And it seems like that's pretty much all that's going on. These diseases. Wider and wider spread. Now, from the Legal Examiner, December 31st, 2015, a strange eruption of anencephaly cases, which occurs in Washington state at a rate of 5 times as high as the national average, has highlighted a number of government policies that may actually conceal this sort of birth defect in clusters. As of November 2015, these cases have continued to increase. Current rate of 9.5 per 10,000 births. In March, actually just a couple weeks ago, American Journal of Nursing. The spring of 2012, 2 babies were born, without brains, within weeks of each other in a rural hospital in Washington. People were stunned when delivering physicians said another patient was expecting the same outcome. After speaking with colleagues, neighboring hospitals, nurses who are awesome whistleblowers because they will tell you what's going on, saying they're seeing this over and over again. Over 30 years of nursing, this one lady had only seen 2 cases of this before it. Then all of a sudden, now here is the risk factor: radiation exposure. Now, media and blogs have linked Washington state clusters to the Hanford nuclear reservation. It's called a reservation. You should run. Now this again is in Benton County, Washington. Now, although leaks from the nuclear plants have been associated with a higher rate of this particular disease and many others, of course, Washington State Department of Health investigators point out that 3 counties, the highest prevalence, were both upwind and upriver from the Hanford site, making nuclear plant, they're saying, unlikely to be the cause. A bulletin of atomic scientists say that the Hanford site is widely considered the most contaminated place in the Western Hemisphere, biggest, most toxic waste, the largest cleanup that needs to be done that's not being done. Now for March 17th, sea lion moms and pups are struggling to survive. Baynet, a volunteer group of naturalists, are keeping a watchful eye on them at Hobson's Marine Station. This is Pacific Grove. They say that the start of the season has been rough. Some of them have been way too thin to give a healthy birth and they don't have enough milk to feed, basically. And so far this season, 13 pups have been born, but none of them survived. Many of the seals come in underweight, starving, suffering from the shortage of food in the Pacific Ocean. They are extremely thin, opening all sorts of illness, infections. Unusually high rate of dying pups. January 21st, the first live birth at Hopkins Beach. The mom could not nurse. The pup was premature. January 26th, the premature pup died. Wasted away with no milk. January 30th, the third premature pup was born. Smallest pup they've ever seen. Died. January 31st, the fourth premature pup born, Hobson's Beach, died within minutes. Very thin adult seals. February 19th, the fifth premature pup. They're dying over and over again. At this point, there's 100% death rate. Long story short. So, this is our planet. We remember that, right? This is our planet. And we are in such dire straits right now. Absolutely dire straits. And I don't know how many times the public can be fooled about who can come out with backgrounds completely opposed to their welfare and accept that these caricatures of human beings could be suddenly transformed into a force for the good of humanity. The public has been driven mad by their gullibility to the voice of the media, and we know who owns that. Meanwhile, the Muslim world has been promoted as a global bad guy. The global bad guy is the banks and the media and the religions that control them. Well, it's basically one religion, but I know you guys hate it when I say that, but to me, same shit. Different time of day. and with the help of their paid and compromised lackeys who are working together behind the scenes. They always have. This is not to say that there are not representatives amongst some of the communities, Muslim, Catholic, Christian, Jewish, who are examples of some of the most representable behavior around. But in every case, these representatives and the countries they live in are allied. I was watching London Has Fallen. The entire plot is predictable and it is transparent. It is a fabrication by, some people call them Zionists, but it's more Zionist cabal, to paint themselves as what they themselves are. Well, painting someone else as what they are, basically. And you really need to read between the lines of what's going on here. Trump, people are still telling me that they're praising, and I can't friggin' get it. To the Republican Jewish coalition, I'm just like you. I am a negotiator. Trump touted his Israel bona fides, tried to connect with the audience of wealthy Jewish donors, repeatedly referred to them as negotiators. In his Thursday address at the Republican Jewish Coalition's Presidential Forum, Trump meets with Christian Jewish leaders, says exact same thing. I'm a negotiator like you folks. We are negotiators, Trump said, drawing laughter before pivoting on how he would negotiate the Iran deal. Is there anybody that doesn't negotiate deals in this room? The room negotiates them, perhaps more than any other room I've ever spoken in. The comments were largely met with laughter and smirks. Spokesperson downplayed suggestions that Trump's comments pointed to Jewish stereotypes, but Donald Trump is well aware of the composition of the board and our audience, one that includes successful businessmen and women, as well as deal makers like him. While Trump tried to win over an audience of wealthy Jewish Republicans, billionaire presidential candidate, which is still bullshit. Billionaires don't go on television for money. They don't. They own the station. They sit back. Now, he is a narcissist, and maybe this helps him get laid, because I can't understand how this man gets laid. Look at him. I just got the heebie-jeebies. Somebody give me a towel. So anyway, he is one of the most willing to bend over of any I've seen. Oh God, that fast first hour. I will be right back. Let's take a break. Welcome back, everyone. Now, do I continue? Yeah, I'm going to continue. You're listening to Trace Elements Radio. Live, of course, with me, Tracy, on Revolution Radio Studio A, Wolf Spirit Radio. Thank you for joining me today. And, of course, Trace Elements Radio. Now, I can't believe this month is almost over. It's another day, another false flag, another brutal cop beating. Another missing native girl, a woman, look too much like me to be comfortable. And another false flag. Now, you need to read their minds, I guess. Or you need to read what their media says about certain allegedly free and thinking independent candidates. Again, Trump. Trump has the strongest Jewish ties of all the GOP candidates. The strongest. And amongst this expansive field of Republican presidential candidates on display, again Thursday night, Trump, great big Jew. I don't know how else to say it. You know, because you're supposedly afraid of them. He works in professions saturated with Jewish people. Has long been a vocal supporter of Israel. His daughter and 2 grandchildren are Jewish. He is a Freemason. Like his father and his grandfather before him. He is, or at least was, a slumlord, although he's declared bankruptcy twice. Because he, I don't know, spends his money on who knows what. He is the executive vice president. Well, the executive vice president of his organization is Jewish. He got on TV because of his Jewish ties and because he was broke and he was a bindi to bend over. And, you know, he has chutzpah. And if you expect to find Jewish donors of influence in Trump's network of associates, you'd be disappointed. The billionaires, alleged billionaires campaign, he said, is self-financed, not donor-funded. Forbes said he's worth $4 billion. Trump says he's worth 10. Yet, a Jewish TV star. I call him Jewish because they own him. Now, as the main attraction of this Republican debate, Trump's trademark is on sharp display, and when asked about past references to women he dislikes as fat pigs and slobs and disgusting animals, he has no time for your political correctness, bitches. He bragged about how Hillary Clinton dared not miss his most recent wedding because he donated to her campaign. And he refused to rule out running as a third-party candidate should someone else win the nomination. Given his myriad of Jewish associations, Trump is not unfamiliar face in Jewish circles. He has served as a Grand Marshal at New York's annual Salute to Israel parade. Bloodthirsty butchers as they are. After Hurricane Katrina, he was amongst a group of celebrities who donated Jewish federal, I don't know what these boxes are called, to be auctioned off to support hurricane disaster relief. And in February, he was honored with an award at an annual gala for a right-wing Jewish news organization. I think it's called Egel Minor. Because most of them, well, the ones who are living in Jerusalem now are freaking Polish. So he says, I have a Jewish daughter. That wasn't the plan. I'm very glad it happened. Trump said at an event held in Manhattan. On Israel, he said, "We love Israel. We will fight for Israel 100%, 1,000%. It will be forever." He said in a 30-second spot that you have a truly great Prime Minister and Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a winner, highly respected. He's highly thought of by all. Vote for Benjamin, terrific guy, terrific leader, great for Israel. Same token, Trump has made clear he believes Barack Obama is bad for Israel, questioned how American Jews could support the president. So Trump at times has dabbled in the Israeli real estate. About a decade ago, he bought a site in Tel Aviv metropolitan area, plans to build Israel's tallest building to be called Trump Plaza Tower. Might as well call it the Tower of Babel. Anyway, he later told the Ramat Gan property he sold it to an Israeli firm before its development. 2012, Trump met with Israel's tourist minister to discuss possible investments in real estate and tourism, according to Israeli news. So, Trump's closest Jewish association is with his daughter, Ivanka's family. Ivanka Trump, fashion designer, celebrity, I guess, converted to Judaism before marrying Jared Kushner, son of a New York Jewish real estate mogul. She studied for her Orthodox conversion with a rabbi of Manhattan's, one of them, synagogue and the Ramis school. Trump and Kushner are members of Lookstein's Orthodox synagogue and are Sabbat observant. They have 2 kids. Trump goes to church on Easter and Christmas and, the regular ones. He's supposed to be Protestant. But when it comes to his organization, his right-hand man is a Jewish lawyer. Cohen ignited controversy last week by suggesting spousal rape doesn't count as rape. Trump, of course, hasn't been shy about controversy himself. Since announcing his candidacy in June, he has called illegal Mexican immigrants rapists, disparaging Senator John McCain for getting captured in the Vietnam War. Publicly disclosed Senator Lindsey Graham's private mobile phone number at a campaign rally. Then, Thursday night's Republican debate last week, following his verbal fireworks on stage, he doubled down on Twitter saying, "I really enjoyed the debate tonight, even though Fox News trio, especially Megyn Kelly, was not very good or professional." He apparently was referring to Kelly's question about Trump's comments on wisdom. Trump's record suggests he's far from a Republican. He's given money to both Democratic and Republican candidates, including Republican primary rivals and Hillary, the likely Democratic nominee for president. Trump at varying times has supported liberal policies like abortion, as well as Tea Party causes like strict immigration regulations. In the debate, he stood by his past support for single-payer health care, saying that he thought it worked well in Canada and could have worked in the United States. Overall, he has no fixed policies. Unlike other Republican candidates, he has no policy section on his campaign website. When Ivanka Trump introduced her father at a dinner 6 months ago, she said he has used his voice often and loudly in support of Israel because he is their, say it with me, bitch. Yeah. He's your girlfriend, and you know what. Anyway, so you don't have to be psychic to see what this guy is about. And the thing said, and what I'm going to say, I'm already familiar with, you probably are too. Now, until the world collectively stands up to its single greatest enemy, nothing good is going to happen. No country or collection of countries have killed as many people in the last century as a much smaller group of these infernal thieves that work together. We don't have countries anymore. We don't. Call it what you want. And I don't care what argument anyone proposes to give me. My point is proven by the facts. Whining victim lines do not impress me. Phony Holocaust to create perception of victimizations does not impress me. Being thrown out of every country in the world, and sometimes more than once, does not impress me. That each time and every time this was, according to them, never their fault. Killing tens of millions in Russia and all over the world horrifies and impresses me. Being behind every real Holocaust in the last century does impress me. These scions. As Mother Rothschild said, if my boys did not want war, there would be no war. Trump, all the rest of the candidates, all over the world, know who did 9/11, but none of them can open their mouths because they are all owned. Under no circumstances do any of these candidates give one flying fuck about the rest of the human race. I'm appalled at the hysteria that is written around this. The dissection circus that talks about punching out protesters and causing riots and all the rest of the xenophobic chatter that's been mouthed. From these psychopaths who just crave more attention. And the more they get, the more they want. Trump's talk about Mexicans and Muslims and is in direct service to the ones he actually is responsible for the conditions he insists he's going to fix. All the same old divide and conquer as have ever happened. Trump claims he saw thousands of Muslims celebrating 9/11 attacks in New Jersey. He said that there should be a Muslim database and their mosques should be shut down. It is the international protocols of Zion, Zionist conspiracy that's behind everything everyone else is accused of. Most people, I guess, are too stupid to see this. I don't know. I hate to call people stupid, but I'm seeing a wave of stupidity here. And when they do, people are just too cowardly to say anything about it, or, are attacked for mentioning it. The Muslims do not have the major terror operations of these times. It is the group of Zion and all their controlled governments of the world who are behind it. These are all the crown colony locations: the U.S., Canada, Israel, satellites, catamites. Of course, the Jenna weed crazies and the Boko Haram will find that they are backed by the Zionists. I suggest every time you follow the money as what they are and what they do and who they take their orders from. People are more or less able to come around here and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, or that rich people are the salvation of the world, or that they create thousands of jobs, so it doesn't matter how amoral they are, because they are doing good. One could say that McDonald's has done great work. They created millions of jobs. What kind of jobs? They fed millions of people billions of times. Fed them what? Coca-Cola. Similar. Monsanto employs all kinds of people. The U.S. is one of the biggest employers around. The U.S. government employs millions of soldiers, mercenaries, intelligence agents, who go to foreign lands and kill people who are unable to defend themselves. They do it for the greater glory of Zion, under the guise of serving the country. And when someone catches them or opens their mouths, like Pat Tilden, they die. Our real heroes have consistently been marginalized, slaughtered, assassinated, and we all give them lip service. But few of us aspire to be like them. I don't like Trump. I don't believe him. I think he is a loudmouth buffoon that is actively working to create what you will see this summer. We don't have to wait for it. The money changers who control him and all the other feckless shitheels are the banks that funnel the money for all the evil we see domestically and abroad every single day. Any one of these candidates would have fueled Fast and Furious, and then blame the cartels. And I'm no fan of cartels of any kind, but I understand the power of money, and I understand what that means. When you can print it at will and then loan it out or give it to your kind and those who serve you for the purpose of the worldwide control over our lives, for those who are in no position to oppose you because they are lacking true leadership amongst their fellows to bring about any kind of dramatic change that is necessary. And you only need to read the words of those who founded the U.S. to see the warnings that were given about the very people I'm talking about. There are 3 ways that one becomes a Satanist. Modern version of the word, not the real version of the world. by intention, by indifference, and by ignorance. Most would never consider themselves, but, well, not that. But I say, in the words of one of the greatest teachers of this world, who was also talking about this same group, by ye works ye shall know them. Daily we encounter propaganda. Propaganda like the arrest of Salam Absalam, an intelligent coup. And I have pictures, of course, and, supposed to be the guy captured in Belgium who has that starry-eyed look of all mind control soldiers or people who are going, where am I? When did they let me out of the cave? Even though various eyewitnesses have described the attackers as, once again, tall white men with military bearing. And of course you can see this article under the protocols of Zion and worldwide. This is on my page. Then we all heard that garbage about Charlie Hebdo, but they don't tell you who owns the magazine. Just like Larry Silverfish and the Triple Towers. Oddest thing happened on the way to False Flag. The beauty of the internet. For every reference, there's countless collaborations and refutations and accusations. You have to know where to look. Eventually, you'll find someone who did the hard work of finding out, and a whole lot of bullshit artists who work for the guys who did it have nothing convincing to say. It's like going to Popular Mechanics about 9/11 or NIST. I'm tired of the lies. I run into them every day. I have to deal with some of the dumbest arguments in defense of whatever new face the predators throw in front of me. I also have to deal with being told I am intolerant and not obliging towards the factious arguments presented to me. I don't have the time or inclination to do so. If that makes me intolerant and not as understanding as everyone might wish, it's too bad. I can't hold everyone's hand and say things like I appreciate how you feel, and I do. I want you to know that I appreciate what you have to say, and I know that there's every possibility that you are correct, and I apologize for having an opposing view. It's probably a result of my bad breeding. I will endeavor to, in the future, seek to convince you more in favor of your viewpoint. I don't have time. Don't have the inclination. I'm not good at it. Truth be told, there are a lot of things that I am not very good at. One of them is diplomacy. And when I'm in the presence of lies, I can't do it. I know people have come and gone here, listening to me. Some of them have been because I don't handle the dialogue as well as I might. Because I have struggled with this. But I don't miss anyone because of it. These things happen. These things fall apart. People pass away, pass on, go wherever they go. I don't worry about it. I just get up every morning and do my thing. I may not do it as effectively as someday I might, but it is the best I can manage at this moment. One thing I might say is that It is not possible to bullshit me. A guru actually said that once. I don't know if he was a real guru, but a lot of people thought he was. Still think he is. That is my particular problem. I cannot close my eyes or my heart. I refuse to. So hopefully our eyes will be opened to the truth within us and the dangers of the snakes within our midst. Most of them are friends. But I see the lie. I see the lies. I see the arcane and the hidden, and realize what is the truth and what is not. I can listen for 5 minutes and tell you that that is so much crap, but it doesn't help, really. I realize that. But if you want a story, I've got great stories for you. If you want the truth, I'm going to give you that too. Straight up. By the information I find. You know, we were talking about the moon and the god and the goddess. These symbols that are etched on our souls. Because our ancestors looked up. For a while, anyway. And saw some things. And because we travel in a ship, the mothership, here, when I look at what's going on the planet, still to this day, to everyone, and think how much we could have been more, how beautiful we could have been, how magical we could be. But the best of us is no better than the worst of us. And we are counting so much propaganda, and it's so obvious who the players are, who they will always be, that there's a very small group, and a bigger group is their minions. And they are about to unleash hell. Though most of the world is in hell already. They're already going through Armageddon. They're already dealing with the apocalypse. Right now, they're being killed so someone can have some more money. Money that is not real. Money that you don't take with you. And it's no mystery to those of us who study esoteric knowledge that the power of a virgin, that they give off an essence that can only be found in a virgin. So who was the most powerful virgin ever? That is our mother. That is the earth. And after years of non-stop research, along with experience and lifetime of involvement, my mind, body, and soul is riddled with symbols, names, stories from distant planets, and extraterrestrial images, and unsacrificed geometry, and crystal diagrams, and holy languages, and strange inscriptions, and everything else related deeply and persistently to discovering what this reality is. I daily watch others begin their quest or remain on a particular phase and stop, and it simply marks yet another level of the same construct. But the whole purpose of what I do and the mission that we have been given was to shorten this lengthy, exhausting, sometimes unrewarding process. There have been difficulties. There have been casualties along the way. Some have grasped a little of the truth and stopped there and become obsessed with it. It's become their demon. It's opened a hole in their chakra or their organ, and they will go no further. They've been completely blown away to one degree, that their former state may have been better than the latter. Some have sacrificed their relationships, their reputation, their lifestyle, many more things of great importance, just to be present. Those of us that are sincere here are determined to make sure that it is not all in vain. What has been discovered is that we as a species, vast and great, many will have faced stumbling blocks in hopes of expansion. We've been brave, which accompanies at times foolishness in opening up the chasms that were stamped with fair warning. We have welcomed other beings into our deep sanctum, or holy of holies, with the hopes that they would gain from their interaction with us, that it would increase them from their current state and thus make our entire reality a better place. Unfortunately, most of the time, that has not happened. And now what was most sacred has been profaned. And I speak here not of a physical church or place of worship, but your own precious temple. Our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our soul. I want you to remember a certain part in many of the childhood stories we are told. It is about a special power that should never fall in the hands of evil as we know it. In the event of this, should it ever take place, it would mean disaster at catastrophic proportions until it was undone. And I am here to tell you, brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and most respected elders, that this has in fact happened. And the most powerful weapon is you. In short, we have welcomed foreign beings into our land, and they have betrayed us. But they have also taught us a most valuable lesson that needs to be repeated, but no longer. This is now the stage that we correct this atrocity and those perpetrating it. To do such things, one must first know how it all took place. And I, Tracey Lightheart Kennedy, will do my best to show you all levels how to get your mind, body, and soul back in complete order. The first entry that was made into us is actually communication, celestial light emissions, frequencies, direct audible communication, all serve as straight lines, seeking to pierce our sphere. In short, everything seeks to gain our attention, whether or not it deserves it. This is why the higher states in meditation can only be achieved when one stills or steals their minds back from whatever has been trying to take it prisoner or captive. And let us keep in mind that we are now composite beings. This means we are made up of several elements, roughly flesh, which has many animal genes that make up its nature. This is proven. Hive mind, which is a collective of all knowledge, experience gained by us and others over uncountable lifetimes. Soul, which gives us our uniqueness and is wholly comprised. Not only our own personal soul, but the interactions and the residue collected by other souls and spirits we have countered. Everything everyone who is related to you has done is there. Our bodies are made up of things that they are calling, look, it's not human, it is virus. Everything that's even passed by has pierced our veil. Every plant, every animal, every state of water, all the minerals, all the soils, everything. So know that there are many beings out in the void that are envious of your state, watching with jealous eyes, and wish to make you ungrateful. Is it because we're so majestic? No. But they want us, or they wouldn't keep coming here. I'm told every day someone remembers their alien past. Well, if they wanted you, they would have grabbed you. You'd be there now. You're not. You're here. Don't give me that shit. Now, misery loves company. And in several instances, these beings forfeited the chance that you have been given right now by continuously making bad decisions as if they would have no effect. You've seen these types before. So imagine if every receptor is constantly being filled with something poking at us, disturbingly so much, that we have grown to accept it and just live with it. I call this the spear ritual. And I speak on all levels here. Imagine that these intrusions long ago removed us from a certain state that we find the greatest difficulty in recalling because we were so young. And I think this is in fact what happened. To lend a little more credit to this, I have to refer to magic. It is known that the whole art of voodoo, the doll, is to mimic what the deluded dark sorcerers do in an attempt to steal someone's spirit. They poke them with knives and forks and needles, etc. This is why the devil is seen with a fork, spearing your food. And we are encouraged to use it on our food. We hold it, and it is a known allegory given in the Bible about piercing the side of Jesus. It is the act of the spear ritual itself. Remember, you are the Christ, and the Christ is Kundalini. What is basically known but all this art is when a person is in a weak stage of fleshy life, holes can be poked in them to remove their spirit from their body, allowing a portion of their spirit to travel into an object that they are poked with. Now comes the conclusion to the mystery of the sphere of Longinus that was used to poke the side of the Merovingian king while on the cross. Thus Hitler sought to sequester the sphere in order to gain the power of the Merovingian king, Merovingians that I told you about. So, his faction could be the new rulers of the world, and that still worship such images as they were encountered, not to by the same book that brings forth the images. Yes, they are worshipping under the image of the sword, which is an upside-down cross. Martians, they are, wolves in sheep's clothing, coming from Mars, the wolf planet, Lobo, red as blood, warlike as the Romans concur. Their founders are Romulus and Remus, suckled by a she-wolf. This is somewhat of a sidebar, no pun intended. But there are many things that the untrained do not know about this reality, and it is safe to say that we are now in a weird place that has strange rules and costumes that many of us are not familiar with, because we are not high druid priests full of strange customs wearing their clothes now inherited. Often what is to our own demise and their little buffer is ignorance these days. So when you think of shunning knowledge because it does not make sense, please do reflect on how much you really know to begin with. Those that are adept in the Merovingian mythos know that Saturn was the old king under the Merovingian bloodline, and that those in possession of the Stone of Destiny, or at least the essence of it, have the right to rule over a covenant that was made long ago when the earth was caned out of its treasures by beings that used cunning. Lastly, for those wondering why I'm insisting a figurehead such as Jesus existed, but not under the title of Apollyon, know that this family line are those that lie and war amongst themselves for position, often taking each other's names, and the names of other beings that they have conquered. It matters not to them if you understand this. Not you are not even supposed to know about it. The fact is, as you see in the Bible, they are really pushing only one bloodline, insisting that everyone came from this recessive bloodline, which is a lie. No bloodline behaves as such. Something that behaves this way could not expect to survive as long as the true human race has. It may be true, however, that over time many ended up breeding with this bloodline by force, as they raped all the women they came in contact with and killed the men. Still going on. And no matter how many people want to look at their precious Jesus reported in the Bible as coming back from the line of Solomon and David, which ultimately leads back to the marked Cain. All original descendants of Cain were given the mark, so Jesus already marked by the beast. Case closed. And the virgin? It's important to get acclimated and ready for an in-depth and personal conversation with yourself. Remember, unless you are listening with someone else, there's absolutely nothing to be shy about. However, what must be discussed is of the highest nature. This communication, this intercourse, this intercourse. This may be a little rough, according to those terms. And there are certain states that we have all been in. And one of those states is being a virgin. Some are unclear about why they are so fearless as a child. But now I'm most certain that fearlessness had at its root our virginity. When free from external influence, one is truly who they are. They have no phobias, no fears, no programming. Most importantly, no intrusion. We cracked this code a while back in the similarities between the word human and the word hymen. Since they are etymology-wise speaking about the same word, I have come to the conclusions that humans were given that name by an intrusive species who saw them all as being very fresh and newbie in the whole game of life and lies they like to play. I speak of those of the false light, or the AI, a royal city founded by Abraham, AI, who people still think is their father, and there is a reason why that city became ruined. And now what they were trying to do to the whole planet, they are known as artificial intelligence, AI. Not because they are not real, but because their knowledge is fake and not applicable to a real environment. So they play intelligent when transporting our true knowledge into their regressive stupidity. They are AI because they are not human. Well, not even because they're not human, but that does not mean they are of another species. In the famous words of Jesus Christ, I am in this world, but not of this world. So where are you from? Why do you care so much about a world that you have no vested interest in? These beings who have a tendency to prey on the innocent and the ignorant, as we will continuously see, made it their responsibility to violate the perfect human state in every way so they could come up with, but not do this. They must first get inside you. So I encourage everyone to fight within. Take an inner stand for yourself, and the letter N and the ins and outs, the 101. Know the intruder who zigzags about fleeing from those who oppose them. Ben, the abhorred sons of the right-hand path who scoff at balance, son of pain, from Rachel. Sin, C-I-N, those who burn with hatred and passion from within, as in cinder. Den, they are the place they hide in the darkness, out of the plain sight in dark recesses. Fin, they bring the end to those poisoned by them. They bring finish. Gin, G-I-N, an alcohol full of spirits, as a drunk will never enter into higher states of consciousness, no matter what you think. Hin, they slow you down and cause hindrance. Chin, J-I-N, those are the spirits without bodies, envious, debased, made of smokeless fire. A G is also a J. Kin, distant relatives sharing a constant common origin. But do not be fooled. They have done so by force. Len, the double convex shape, just as an eye, as in all-seeing eyes. Min, a phallus, a sphering device. Nin, Sumerian demon compared to Lilith with roots to Ninos, Nineveh, the number 9. Pen, to hold down, or to bind as in a pentagram. Quin, Quin, 5, or the Quinitar, the state of Satan, the sea beast. Capricornus. Ren, an Egyptian secret name or the part of the soul. Sin, S-I-N, need I say more? Also the moon. Tin, actually 10, or Omega, the end, or the planetary metal of Jupiter, Jehovah, Jove. We'll continue this next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now, everyone.